Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. How are you? How's your day been so far?
Today has been a pretty hectic day.
That's what you do when you're the boss, right?
But that's what we do, right?
That's what we do. I am so excited that we have finally arrived at this place to just have some time to explore the great work that you are now doing over at the Urban League of Metropolitan St. Louis Women's Business Center. Um, so I have so many questions,
Great.
but as
And
you know,
hopefully I have a lot of answers.
you do. Um, I want to welcome Miss Lady Tasha Pettis Bonds to Conversations in the Nick of Time. And I want to thank you, the listeners. Once again, welcome to Conversations in the Nick of Time. I am your host, Nikki Roach. I want to send a special shout out to Sparkman Pathway to Careers and KSTL Jubilee 690 AM for being the sponsors and the backbone of this show and providing the platform for us. Those who are new, welcome. And those who are regulars, we thank you. This is the platform, your virtual classroom, your global classroom, where we expose and explore leadership excellence and leadership accidents. We bring on experts across all different industries to give us resources, tools, lessons learned, strategies, and so much more. And our guest today could not be positioned in such a great place to give us all that and some in this abbreviated time, though, to explore what she is doing to bring women in this region to start because it is bleeding outside of these borders. I sense it, I feel it, I hear it. In regards to the work that they're doing to develop women in the space of entrepreneurship, as well as small business ownership. And I'm even going to plug in just leadership because
Mhm.
there's so much content that I'm aware of that many of us could benefit from. Welcome, Miss Tasha. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing well. I am doing well. You know what? Earlier today, I was on 10. No, actually, I probably was on 20 because I'd had at least 5 cups of coffee. And I'm in my office and I'm just moving around, and my teammates, they're coming in, they're looking at me. And my my assistant director said, "You've been drinking coffee all day, haven't you?" And I was like, "Yes, I can't drink anymore because I'm about to go crazy." But it was so much to do, and I just had so much energy today. So I'm
Well,
glad
I'm
to be here.
I'm happy because like look, we need all that energy because we're going to plow through some information that is going to be very beneficial for many, I'm sure, not again just in this region but even beyond. Those
Good.
who are not familiar with you, I want to do set the platform and introduce them to you and you to them. Tasha Pettis Bonds has 20 plus years as a former senior vice president in the St. Louis and Chicago marketplace in the industry of banking and finance. She has experience with retail leadership, branch management, business banking, and community development. She is the recipient of quite a few banking awards. Some of the spaces in which she has been recognized is sales performance, customer service, community outreach, and leadership. Now she is at the helm of the Urban League of St. Louis, Missouri, Metropolitan St. Louis, Missouri Women's Resource Center, where there are just a host of things that they are doing, and they have transformed this program that had existed, but now leveraged it to take it to the next level. And the timing could not have been more perfect, as many of us have found ourselves pivoting. How has the first year been? Because it hasn't even been, has it been a year?
No, it's only been 6 months, but
Oh
it
my
feels like it's been a full year for us. Yeah, it's been
God.
6 months, and I can tell you, it has been some of the most rewarding time. I've had a team of engaged individuals. I've had bank partners, non-for-profit partners, just embrace the work that we're doing. And so I
Okay.
tell people all the time, they make my job look super easy because they come together and they make it happen,
Yeah.
and that's just a good space to be in always.
Yes. And so How has the transition been? Because there's a story within this story, and I want to
Hmm.
focus on you first, just for the first, yeah, if we can. Indulge me for a moment with a few questions regarding you. And
Sure.
you've had such a successful journey in the banking and financial industry, in different ways that you have been able to tap into underrepresented populations to those who are well served. And
Mhm.
then, so I understand that's transferable skill set. But what has been, or what was the thing that caused you to say, I'm ready to take the leap? Because that could be a question for someone. Like, what caused you to say yes, leaving corporate into a nonprofit?
You know what? It's multifaceted. When I moved back to the St. Louis marketplace just a few years ago, after a very successful career with the bank that I'd been in for 12 years, I had to put a lot of things into perspective. My mental, emotional, spiritual, physical health, and all of that was the first leading indicator for me. Is that I wanted to have this place of balance. So when I moved back to the St. Louis marketplace, I got right back into banking again, and hit the ground running all over again. But what I found myself doing once again was spending tremendous amounts of time in the bank, but then doing the community work as well. And so I spoke with Mr. McMillan about this opportunity that I'd seen with this women's business center as they were transitioning from Grace Hill to the Urban League. And he and I had a few different conversations about it. And I thought, wow, this might be the right fit role to bring that balance to my life that I was seeking, but more importantly, to kind of help him and help the organization to jump off to a great start. And so it was just this perfect marriage right away, and one that is steadily happy. You know, you when you get married, everything's going extremely well, and that's what's going on right now. I couldn't think of a better way to start. You know, when you think about transitioning. Now, of course, there are things when you're in corporate America, you're used to certain things versus non for profit. But nevertheless, if you continue to keep that client at the center of everything you're doing, you keep the work at the center of what you're doing, which is what I did for 25 years in banking, you're going to win, right? So that's what keeps me going right away. It's just that focus and that core space of that woman business owner, as well as men, you know, males who are business owners.
So, do you feel that the transition was pretty seamless? Would you say?
No, no, I won't say seamless. It wasn't seamless because it takes a lot to leave what you are successful in. But
Ah,
what makes it easier is the fact that there's always a why behind making a change like this. And the why for me really came at, you know, in banking, I was able to help people on the back end. So I saw people as they were coming in the doors and they already had their businesses established, whether it was right, wrong, or indifferent. That's where I was, right? Today, I get to assist businesses with that beginning space
okay.
or revamping or rebranding so that then I can assist them easier with my banking lens as they start talking about access to capital, et cetera. So that's the biggest piece for me is that you're in a different space doing some of the same behaviors and partnering with some of the same people I would have partnered with anyway.
And but now, and but having the opportunity to advocate for a specific
Hmm.
group of people who
Yeah,
are oftentimes left out of the equation when it comes to
absolutely.
funding.
Hmm.
Many of us in this space, meaning when I say many of us, African American women, this is a whole nother show. We'll have to come circle back around to this. We start off, yes, with much passion, but very little direction in regards to like how do we take what it is we're passionate about and move it forward. And we do know that it takes money. And so
It
I
does.
I think this is, as you mentioned, about the perfect marriage in regards to your background, that being the one of the biggest issues
Hmm.
for this target audience. And to
Yep.
bring that knowledge, you having that knowledge, I mean, very in-depth knowledge of the processes, the preparation, the barriers. You have
Hmm.
that lens already that you're able to shine on us to where we don't know. We just, hey, I just know I clean very well, whatever my business may be, or I make the best lemonade.
Oh, yes.
I didn't know I
And
needed
it,
to, you know.
you're absolutely right. It's what helped us really develop what we call like these four pillars of learning.
Okay.
So what I had to do right away was create this sense of urgency, because when we take a look back over the past 20 years, so a lot took place simultaneously, right? So it was not only just a new industry for me to go into, switching from corporate to non for profit, but we're in the middle of a name change and a reputation change from that was which was Grace Hill for 20 years to now the Urban League.
Yeah.
And so the good news is the Urban League's name itself is synonymous with good things, right? So my challenge right away was, how do we assist in moving the needle from good to great within this organization rapidly? Because what we didn't want to happen was that there's this gap, or this we already had the pandemic taking place. We didn't want to have a further gap in delivering to the community that we were here to serve. So we had to create this sense of urgency and just get things going. With that in mind, I had to identify right away what was working, what was not, what we needed to stop, what we needed to continue, what we needed to start. And so with that, leadership focus, and how do we lead in our community, which is something I've done in banking over the past 20 plus years, is that thought process. How do we win fast, right? So I created these four pillars of learning that focused on, number one, the business leadership. How are you ready as an individual? So leadership readiness became the first thing. With
Mhm.
leadership readiness comes, the mindset, comes this emotional well-being piece that we incorporated into it. And the good news is, when I had my supervisor at the Urban League was extremely supportive of me building this out. And so I still remain grateful for that. The second piece that we wanted to make sure we captured for these new business owners, or the individuals who have been in business and just wanted to do things differently, was around the business knowledge. What all do you know? How much have you researched? What is your niche? So teaching them all of those things,
Mhm.
and then transitioning them into operational soundness and risk management. Because oftentimes business owners, they say, I'm good at braiding hair. I'm going to make this money braiding hair. So what we challenge them to do is think about, are you ready to braid hair full time? What does that look like? What discipline do you need to have in place? And then what is the business knowledge around it? And then what are the operational risks that could, potentially arise? How are you protecting yourself as that business owner? And then finally, the driving revenue, because right away people automatically say, I have this skill, let's make money. Now let's save that, because you already know how to make money. But what is it going to take for you to be a sustainable business, is
That's the word.
what we focus on.
And that's the word, sustainable, because
Yep.
again, we have passion. And when I say we, I'm including myself. Much
Mm-hmm.
passion, but not really sound. I know at one point I was not. And honestly, there are still parts that that's not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
You find someone else to kind of do those parts.
Yep.
But even I've learned, you still, as a business owner, need to be aware of what the expectations are. It may not be something that you continue to do, but these four pillars, absolutely, you need to have the knowledge as the leader
Mm-hmm.
or the owner.
Yes, yes. And what we do, we the game plan is, once we move you through this thought process, or this challenge, really, some people, it's really a challenge for them. Who do we partner you with? Who do we have you collaborate with to get you where you need to be? But first, we need to understand where they are. So, what we don't want to do is just take everybody who comes in the door and calls and says, I want to do business with a women business and I need help, and say, oh, well, you need to go through our 12-week curriculum. That's not where we are today. Today, what we do is we take what's called an intake process, where we are learning everything about that business, about the owner and where you are. And then, with you in mind, not just this cookie cut model, with you in mind, where do you want to be? Where does your vision for yourself? What is the vision for your company? I'll give you a good example today. We had a we had a lady today who come up with a really great idea, transition her business from tow truck to, I will not say what her idea is. It's brilliant though. And so she called our counselor here and wanted to move through this idea. So the counselor came in and said, I may need your assistance with this. So I came in because right away when she told me what she wanted to do, I'm like, that's brilliant. So I went in there and I said, well, tell me a little bit more about what you're trying to accomplish. So she started talking, and then the self doubt. I just don't know, the market analysis is not there because we've taught them to analyze their market, right? And she said, I can't find anything on this. I'm researching and I can't find anything.
That's a
And I
good
said, well,
thing.
isn't that beautiful?
Yeah,
You
that's
get
a
to
good
set
thing.
the bar.
Yeah.
You get to set the tone for the St. Louis marketplace around your idea. And
Yeah.
so now let's talk about that and how you're going to be empowering other people to think about this model. And so she was just like, oh my gosh, that's why I love you guys, because you guys take time. We remove that self doubt and really want to inspire people to think through their strategy.
Yeah.
And then we're there to assist them throughout the process with partnering them with someone from marketing, partnering them with the bookkeeper, partnering them with someone who's going to help them with the social media branding, the business structure, all of that stuff that really, to me, it's easy, but to them, it's a crutch for them sometimes.
Right.
So,
Right. Now, even back to you though, in this role,
mhm,
understanding that it wasn't all seamless. There is a lot of transferable skill sets as you've left one industry to enter into another, which are is truly in alignment. And then, and I'm setting a picture here for
mhm,
individuals who may be listening, because what they're trying to do just might be a transition. So again, here's
mhm,
another lesson for those from you as the lead of this program.
mhm,
I always say you can't lead where you've not been. And so you've been here to where you've made
mhm.
this, what some on the outside may think was a hard transition. But then what has been the thing that has been the most challenging, or the taking you the longest up until this month, uh, to wrap your mind around as the leader of this program?
You know what? I put so much thought in everything I do before I say yes,
Okay.
that when I say yes, it's a compelling yes. It is a positive yes.
I like that.
It's not a wayward yes. As a matter of fact, I will. That type of yes. So I guess I navigated through all of the pros and cons
Mhm.
before then. And what I do with anything I do, I list out this list of pros, and I even challenge my clients to do this thought process. I list out all of my pros and then I list out my cons.
Uh-huh.
But I go a step further. I look at the cons that can become pros within a short period of time. And I put okay, is this something I can achieve within 30 days? Is this something that can become positive for me within 60 to 90 days? And then I set that as a pro because it's going to shift, right? And then I take a look, and if my pros continue to outweigh my cons, then it seems like it's a right fit to roll. But I also honor when circumstances do arise that may get in my way. I have to honor that that's realistic. Everything's not going to be perfect every single day, especially being a female and being in such a dominating industry of banking for so many years. I mean, I've been beat over my brow in banking as a young Black female. Those are three strikes I had. So being in the boardroom back then taught me a lot to toughen my skin. So
Okay.
today I handle this transition probably smoother than I would have if I had done it 15 years ago. And
Okay.
so really just moving through learning the non-for-profit space, respecting the space that's in place, challenging when it's appropriate, just because. So taking off that corporate hat and not saying, well, you're in corporate, this is what we do, but really just learning and respecting sometimes the slower process is where I find myself. I guess that would be my only challenge. But other than that, I put so much thought on the front end before even saying yes that it's just a comfortable place.
What do you wish you had known before entering the role?
Hmm. Um, I wish I knew more about the use of grant funds.
Okay.
See, in banking, you have it's pretty interesting. So in banking, your job is to minimize expenses, right? That's what we do. We save money. In the non-for-profit space, that's just as important. But when you have a grant that says you need to spend this money, you need to spend that money by that time. There's no need to
With
hold
the
on to
timeline. Right, with the
it.
timeline.
Yes, you have to manage that timeline.
Yes.
And, when you have like this amount of money sitting here and you didn't touch it because you came into the program half into the year and you're looking at this pool of money, like, I gotta spend it. Okay. Where in banking, it's a plus for you not to spend it, right? So I think that that is my biggest struggle sometimes is okay, how do I spend this money? And another part of that is that so many people want to do so much for us for free.
Okay.
And that's a
That's
good
a
problem to
blessing.
have.
Yeah, that's
It
a
is.
blessing.
I've had so many blessings like accountants. I want to, pay to do the work. We can write contracts with them and negotiate and talk through. But they're like, you know what? I've been working with you for so many years. I respect the work that you do. I just want to volunteer my time. I'm
That's
like,
awesome.
no, no.
Right. I have a grant I need to spend.
Exactly. So that's my biggest challenge right now.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
But it's a good problem to have,
It is,
It
especially
really is.
because it considering what could be. And
Because the flip side of that is banking. I could have had my budget cut the next year, because I did such a good job saving,
yeah.
or because I managed it with just $2,500. Well, you don't need the money anyway, So just really making sure too that we're getting the money in the hands
Mhm.
of the community like we're supposed to. So managing all of that is just something that stays at the forefront of my mind always.
Okay. Now switching over to the program, the Women's Business Center.
Mhm.
That, as you mentioned, was once with Grace Hill Settlement House, and then it switched over to the Urban League. Now it's there. Tell us, what is it? What is this business center? And what are some of the highlights that causes you to smile and be so excited about it?
Oh my gosh. Okay, okay, okay. Since you asked. So, we did, when I say we did almost a complete rebranding, we had to though, because, once again, we wanted to move the needle from good to great. And sometimes in doing that, you have to make some drastic changes in a lot of stuff. And now sometimes the drastic change comes with some of the same partnerships, et cetera, but getting people to understand the direction that you're looking to go in is critical to the work. And
Right.
so we even had to take a look at our mission statement. What is it that we're trying to cause? So we highlighted three things. We wanted to empower, we wanted to engage, and we wanted to advocate for business owners.
Okay.
And so being very specific with what does empowering look like? Empowering looks like to me and to my team, making sure that we get our hands on tools and resources, but then that we pass them out. Like the tools and resources that we have does no good if we keep them in house.
Right.
We need to make sure we're getting the word out. We're getting the benefits out to the people that we're looking to serve. We engage as well. So like I said, I've been very fortunate to attract some of the partners that I've worked with over the past 25 years. I've been with a few different banks, so it's always been a good place when you left a bank and you left on good terms. So when I'm calling now from this lens and connecting with the U.S. Bank, for instance, I'm on the phone with people that I worked with in the past. Same thing with like a PNC bank. I'm working with people, Midwest Bank, like all of these banks that I've had relationships with over the years, whether it's you worked with me, you worked for me, we collaborated, whatever the definition was at the time, to get these, the people that we're servicing, the exposure to these leaders within the community. That's been phenomenal. And one of the things that I like about being able to know different people is that I know who's committed to the same level of quality I am.
Yeah.
So
And
I
those
can pick and choose.
relationships, don't I mean, and your role is grounded
Hmm.
in relationships. So what
Yes.
amazing head start
Oh, yes. Oh,
that you
yes.
have, you know?
Yeah. So I was just on the phone with one of my bank partners yesterday, and he said, do you realize that within this month, now this is April 14th, right? You've sent me over 5 new business accounts. And guess what? He's not the only bank we've sent them to. But I have the power to say, where do you live? Okay, what are you looking for in a bank? Where do you currently bank? And really being able to say, okay, here are two or three bank partners that I can refer you to. So I'm not just sending them to one person. I'm giving the client the autonomy to choose, but here are 2 or 3 people that I personally know that is committed to the same quality client experience that I am. And it just feels so good to be in that
That's
space.
awesome.
And that's the last piece is around the advocating for them. We're creating a space for equity. So I'm also knowing which bank is doing what with which type of clients. So being able to keep my finger on the pulse of those relationships, talking to some of the banks about creating small business loans that fit the needs of my clients, um, meeting other organizations that are doing similar work, but they're offering access to capital. What does that look like for my clients? And understanding the criteria and then getting people prepared to meet those is what we look at when we think about advocating. And it's just been really a great place and a great lens to be at. And I always tell people one of the best ways for me to achieve all of this is by building a team of the right people doing the right things in the right place.
Yeah.
Like my team, I cannot speak enough about the team I have built within my first 6 months and their commitment to the
Yeah.
client is it's just so fun.
But oh my God, I can only imagine every day. Yes, there are going to be challenges and barriers, but every day I get to see an idea, birthed by someone, grab their hand and walk alongside them, and every now and then pass them off to others who have their back as well.
Hmm.
And to see this birth
Yes.
from this individual over
Hmm.
a process of time.
Yeah.
Oh my, the energy in your space must just be magnetic and contagious and bouncing off the walls all the time, even without
All the
talking,
time.
right?
We exhaust each other. We really do.
I
We
believe
really,
it. Because even
yeah.
just sitting here thinking about it, and I have been very fortunate. I think on 2 or 3 different occasions, I've been able to come and speak to some of the groups, and just the energy and their excitement and their
Mhm.
acceptance of just hearing from someone else, regardless of what our industries may be and our thing may be. I
Mhm.
mean, it's just this collaborative, cohesive sisterhood on
Yes.
top of let's go get it. That
Yeah.
energy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's such a good place. That it's one of those that when it's back to that place where when you call in sick, you feel bad about it, you
Matter of
know?
fact, I'm not
Um,
calling in, I'm coming.
yes, it's one of those, it's so crazy that
Yeah.
like when I call a meeting with the team, we talk business and we're like this with it. But
Yeah.
then we'll take a second and we'll laugh because we're watching one of my daughter's blowing my phone up and I'm like, yes, I'm in the middle of a meeting. What do you need? Everybody knows it. Hi, Tyler, how are you? And she's smiling like, oh, okay, I'll talk to you later, mom. But it's so fun to be in that place where it's like this family atmosphere. But I tell people all the time, you would be surprised the amount of work we get done in an 8 hour period. And oftentimes for me, it's not 8 hours,
Yeah.
which is that's the new thing that I have to do. I'm having to learn to get myself back into that work life balance space because I'm so excited that I find myself spending 10 to 12 hours a day doing this work. Before
Easily.
I look up some evenings, I'm here till 9 o'clock and I'm like, you got to shut it down. You have to. Yeah.
Now, and speaking about, shutting it down, what you do for this business center, paint a picture for us for the different things that you're doing to meet the needs of women in entrepreneurship and small business ownership.
Great. Okay. So one of the things that we did right away was took a look at the learning curriculum that was in place. And there was one that was a 16-week program that was around $300, I think. And we did this full homework assignment where we wanted to hear from people who had moved through the program about what was great and what was not, and what would make it even better if. So we do these different exercises because as much as we want to be known as experts in certain things, the best expert is the person who's experiencing it, right? So we did this whole exercise. What we learned was that it wasn't necessarily the low to moderate income clients that we were reaching with the curriculum. We had some people from Chesterfield, and that's fine as a woman business owner. But when we looked at the program, our program was clearly to assist underserved. So we changed the program,
Oh,
and we are now partnering with the FDIC on some of the work that we did as far as the curriculum. So we created a 12-week curriculum that was now $100. What the difference meant was that we then had 30 people in our class. So one example I can give is that we may have had in the past 15 people sign up for the class and 12 people graduate. This is the last week. Next week is the last week for our 12 week. Our initial our our very first cohort. I
yeah,
get so excited talking about this. We
yeah.
had 32 people sign up. Of the 32 people, 29 of them have never missed a single class in a 12-week period.
Okay. So
Not a single
this is
class.
your inaugural class, your
This
inaugural
is our
cohort,
inaugural class. Yes. Mm-hmm.
and you switched from 16 weeks going for $300 to 12 weeks for $100.
Mm-hmm.
And you now have opened up the space where it's not just targeted to underserved, but it's just women. Is
Mm-hmm.
that
Women
correct?
and men. And men.
Okay, I did not know that.
Oh yeah. We're the Women's Business Center, but we also have male clients.
Okay, I didn't see that even in my
Oh yeah.
research.
Oh yes. Oh yes. And
Okay.
what's interesting, we have a lot of men that call and they'll say, "Oh, well, you only service women." No, we don't. It's called the Women's Business Center because it's part of the SBA. Back in the day when there was a need to even the playing field, but because it's SBA, we can't discriminate and say just women only. We
Okay.
have to include. We have to take everybody in. So we find ourselves servicing men as well. And so, what the needs may look like, you may be a small business owner who experienced during COVID. Let's say if you say, you know what, I couldn't transition my business well. I'm no longer a storefront. I lost the building that I was in, and now I'm having to work from home. Well, it's our job to assist you with rebranding. But
Okay.
we also have to instill in you this mindset that you can be successful again. So we have you spend some time with our emotional well-being coach to get you back up to where you want to be emotionally and mentally and believing that you can do the work, right? But we also partner you then with someone who specializes in rebranding, with a motivational speaker, with our marketing team. What does that look like then to go from brick and mortar to online sales? And we wrap our arms around you differently today because we're willing to spend that extra time with you. Because in the intake process, you've told us upfront what's good about your business and what's not. So our job is to make you great at the end of the day. And so one of our clients in our class Tuesday night, he said, "Man, I'm going to hate when this ends at the end of 12 weeks." And I said, "What's going to end?" And he was like, "Well, I no longer get to spend time with you guys." And well, I was talking to him today actually. "I no longer get to spend time with you guys because the 12-week program is ending." No, 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 no. You graduate from the 12-week program, but we hold your hand as long as you need us to. The resources that you have at your fingertips are going to continue because we want you to get to that space where you feel at any point you need to call us and say, "I have a question."
So we're gonna step back.
Mhm,
We have Elizabeth, and Elizabeth has a business.
mhm,
Elizabeth is selling lemonade. She wants to go ahead and take it and to the next level, mass produce it, maybe get it bottled, get it on the store shelves somewhere local, then maybe
mhm,
national. She shows up either in person or by phone or by email. Walk
mhm.
us through that process. What happens?
So we do the intake form, and the intake form is really to understand once again where she is,
That's
and so
online.
what
Is
her
that
goals are.
that's
So we
online?
want to make sure that they have their business registered. We want to
Okay.
make sure that they have a business plan. So
Okay.
that's oftentimes where it stops. Elizabeth has the best idea. I want to market my business and bottle it, right? So then that's where we stop, Elizabeth, and say the how. We want to assist you in doing the research around what does that mean. And so we don't do all of the work. We rely on Elizabeth to help us, right? So you tell us what you want. We require them to do homework and then come back and we then help you through the thought process before we partner you with these different counselors or different people that's going to help you. But then it's our job to find a mentor. So someone in my office may walk into the office or into our team meeting that we have almost every morning, and they say, "Hey, I have a client that's doing this, and I have no idea who I can partner them with." So although it's lemonade, it's still manufacturing and getting her process, her into a bottle, right? So then I say, "Oh, well, we just helped such and such last week with this. Let's put them back in touch with each other."
Okay.
So now our clients are mentoring one another on what their process has been. And
Okay.
we have, yeah, and we've had a lot of guest speakers that raise their hands and say, "Hey, I want to help out. How can I help? I was just a guest speaker in December. I want to do more." So there's nothing for me to send an email to like 4 or 5 different people and say, "Hey, I've got somebody who wants to mass produce lemonade now. Who should I put them in touch with?"
Okay.
And they say, "Oh, here are 4 different people for them to do." Now, here's something else we do, and this is the beauty of the work that I do. If we notice that there are 6 people who are coming to us suddenly and it's in the same scope of work, so rather it's lemonade, baby food, barbecue sauce, and they're wanting to do that.
Okay.
Instead of us sending you individually, my assistant director and I sit there and say, "You know what? Why don't we create an initiative around this? And why don't we create a 4-week series? Because now the demand is there." And we ask them all the questions. We find someone and the partners and bring them into the loop. So now they're spending time with an expert that's giving them step by step instruction.
And also, I love this. Okay, because this is I was trying to get to the meat of it. Because now you not only are being mentored by someone who may be in some part of that industry, but you have these peer mentoring and peer accountability that's
Mm-hmm.
happening, and a network. Who knows? Maybe it's a joint effort. You have no
Mm-hmm.
idea, but you all set them up for those opportunities.
Right, right.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
I'll give you a great example of what's taking place right now. We had an influx of people. So I'll tell you a misconception we had going into this work is that, okay, we're going to have a lot of people doing these menial roles. People are going to, everybody's going to say, "I want a food truck." Everybody's going to say, "I want a great hair." Everybody's going to say, "I want to do lashes." Everybody.
Or be
That
a
is
coach.
not what we
Or
experience.
be a
Yeah,
coach. Yeah.
exactly. That is not what we're experiencing. Some of the people that are coming to us have such specialty that
Awesome.
they have. It's just crazy to see. So I'll give you an example of this one lady. She's a nurse. She noticed during COVID, though, that people were afraid to come into the doctor's office. So she's creating a mobile nursing business for herself. So we were able to connect her to a doctor who's going to assist her with the proper paperwork that she needs. Legal services is going to assist her with the contracts that are going to be needed. And so she's going to be able to do her 9 to 5 as a nurse, but then on weekends and in the evenings, meeting people where they are is one of our themes, right? She's going to be able to meet people where they are. So imagine this, if on a day off during the week on a Thursday, she says, "I want to take care of, I'm going to schedule appointments for this Thursday that I'm off." And she says, or I call her and want to set up a doctor's appointment or a nurse's appointment because I need blood drawn.
Yeah.
She's going to come to my office and draw my blood. But the ask from her, and these are thought processes that we built into like helping her with her marketing concept, right? So not only are you going to come and talk to me about drawing blood, you want me to tell my team, "Hey, I have a doctor's appointment or a nurse's appointment. She's coming in tomorrow at 10 a.m. Does anybody else need to see her while they're there?" So imagine the one person saying, "You know what? I was supposed to go in for my doctor's visit and get a cholesterol test, and I'm not going to be able to make it in because I had to cancel the appointment because I had to take my children to the dentist. So can she do cholesterol checks?" Yep, she can do that. "Oh, I needed to get my weight check. I'm joining this weight loss. Whatever the need is, when she's at my office now, if it's 5 employees here, she could potentially have 5 separate visits, you know? And
It's
so
one destination.
yes. So
Wow.
the ideas that we see are affording us the idea to be as creative as possible. So one of those things that we continue to see, we saw an influx of, I was digressing for a second because I was excited about sharing what she's doing,
But no,
is
that's awesome. That's awesome.
we started looking at some of the specific industries that people are interested in. And
Okay.
we start thinking about like all the culinary schools in St. Louis. They're teaching people to be chefs and cooks, but you have them graduating and they're saying, I'm opening up a restaurant, I'm buying a food truck, but they don't have the skill set necessarily to run a business.
Yes.
So we're
Yep.
doing those four pillars. But in addition to that, we'll be introducing a really good restaurant, one of my favorite restaurants in the St. Louis marketplace. We have two experts who are going to assist us in providing a curriculum. And this, what I like about this restaurant is that it wasn't a restaurant that opened the doors and had all of the solutions. They learned by error, not by trial and error. They learned by error. And the owner will tell you, we did everything wrong, right? And so for us to be celebrating that we're still open and that since COVID, since the pandemic and the doors opening back up, we have been booming, right?
Yeah.
He's going to be able to spend time taking these chefs or cooks who they can cook well, but do they understand the kitchen management? Do they understand the hiring and firing of the staff? Do they have HR in place? Do they have safety regulations? We're sending them through an 8-week curriculum now that we built out in conjunction with them
That is
to
awesome.
service this particular population.
I think I ran into you that night. No.
You did. You
But
did.
what's so amazing is that now you are moving out of the lecture and the theoretical process of it to
Mm-hmm.
application. And that
Absolutely.
really, and I don't, across all industry, sometimes, and you know, and I'm in higher ed, I am a professor as well.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding that that is one of the things that I advocate for is experiential learning. There
Yes.
is nothing like you can teach me some foundational things that are that I need to know that are applicable to my knowledge, like historical and the theories and the temperatures and the processes. But to get my hands greasy,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
in the process of all of it, also to be able to sit and write out a chart to understand what scheduling means, because these are, and understanding what rush hour is and what staffing means during rush. But when it gets slow or you have to pivot because guess what, a pandemic has showed up,
Mm-hmm.
um from individuals who have gone through that,
Right.
hands down, that's a whole bonus.
Mm-hmm. And we've been able to identify, and that's what actually is on the board behind me. Some of the industries we're being specific with is real estate. You have a lot of people who are real estate agents. They want to become brokers. They want to have their own agency. Well, how? Who's
I
teaching them
love
that?
this. I
Well,
love
guess who's teaching them? Not me. I can teach them the general curriculum that we've established, right? I can partner with them with different counselors that can assist them, but there's nothing like a real estate expert who's moved through the process themselves to be able to say, here are the licenses that you need.
yeah.
Here are the things that you're going to, here are the hurdles that you're going to, experience. Here's how you overcome those hurdles simply because I've experienced it. So
Right.
real estate is one, early childhood is another,
Okay.
home health care, catering. I'm going to cheat. Trucking and transportation is another.
That's growing for women. And for women, that is growing.
Oh, yeah. And one that we just started yesterday is podcast. There are tons of people wanting to be podcasters.
I love it. I
And
love
so I tell you what, when we put out these initiatives, what I absolutely love is that when we're putting out these initiatives or these projects that we're doing, the reception has been so well received. So last night we were wondering about how is the podcast going to go, and we didn't choose the best podcaster on earth. In our minds, he's somebody that's navigated through this podcast world, and
uh-huh.
we chose him because he's for several reasons, but he's relatable. He's super nice when you get him, grounded, and he's talking to you one on one, and he has a commitment to other people's growth.
That's awesome.
That's what stood out most for me. And so after yesterday's first class, he had left, and I did share the feedback with him. we had 10 participants because we have to max out our classes. That's what's crazy. We are having to max out our stuff now. We had the 10 participants, and they all stayed after to talk to us about how excited they were
That's
and about the knowledge they got in the first 2 hours. So, we are only thinking of what the next 5 weeks with them is going to look like. It's so we set the tone up front
yeah.
for us to win, but it just feels so good at the end when we look at each other, my assistant and I, and we just high five because we know we nailed it. And we don't nail it. We don't say, oh, we nailed it. But when we get that type of feedback, we know we're on the right track.
That's
And it just
awesome.
feels good. Yeah.
And I love the fact that you incorporated the input and took time to hear, which is
Mm-hmm.
also, something else we all as leaders need to do more of. But you took the time to hear that feedback and was able to actually do something with it, not just hear it,
Mm-hmm.
but you've actually activated it. And I'm sure that will have some influence on the development and of not only this program, but as you mentioned earlier, going back to those who have already transitioned through the program, those being the experts
Mm-hmm.
in this offerings, in these offerings that you have and that you're continue to build out. You have that flexibility and that agency to keep it relevant
Mm-hmm. Oh
to
yeah.
industry demands, industry needs, to be able to see around the corner for them and
Mm-hmm.
with them in
Oh yeah.
regards to what it is that's going to make them sustainable. That word you
Mm-hmm.
use, sustain, that is the deal breaker right there.
It is. It is. We've got to get St. Louis back. When I think about our community
Yeah.
that you and I were both born and raised in, you look at the number of businesses. I take my kids sometimes by the old neighborhood, and boy, this used to be this, and this used to be that, and it's sad to see. And so I feel that I'm in a position to help change the landscape for small business owners
Yeah.
and building that space of sustainability. But I feel that I'm empowered to help them do it right this time. Sometimes our business owners are business owners simply because their father was or their mom was. But
Mhm.
how much of that was passed down to them and being taught how to run the business?
Yeah. And today it's
Um,
different. It's different today
mhm,
than it
mhm.
was.
Yeah, you're right. One of the restaurants that I grew up around the corner from, and this is not even a minority owned restaurant, but this restaurant had been around in the St. Louis market for years. And I remember knowing the owner, talking to the owner every single time I was in there as a little girl. Well, at the age of 9 is when I was able to cross the street with my mom looking from her job and meet my friend as we ate right across the street. She gave us a little money to go and eat at. And then she would watch us walk back because the owner would call my mom's job and let her know they're finished, they're going back, right? But to see that business go from him, and I knew he had children, and I know he had kept trying to get his children to take over the business. I was in town visiting when I was in the Chicago market, and he said, he used to call me kid. He said, kid, it's my last weekend. Not in my 40s, but he called me kid. He's like, it's my last weekend here. My wife and I are moving to Florida. We sold the business. I was
Oh,
like, what? I've been coming to this place since I was a little girl. To see that business not only no longer exist, but to be level to the ground and as if it was never there. So imagine, and that was like a 30-year history, right? But actually 40 years, I'm telling my age, but it was 40s. But think about the number of Black businesses that are open that we knew that don't even exist anymore, that we can't even tell our kids about that generational, that legacy, right? And so we ask people all the time, what do you want your legacy to be? What are you looking to cause by this business? Is it a quick fix? Or are you looking to do this just for 2 years because it's the hottest thing to do? Or are you looking to sustain your business
yeah.
and grow over time? So it's important for us to understand that up front so that we can assist them in the long run with building that what's necessary for them to be successful. So that's what I feel we're empowered to do at the place that we're in right now.
Now, those who come and participate and sign up for one of the 12-week tracks,
Mhm.
it sounds, what I'm getting is that it's kind of like a membership to where, like, or a community. Once you come through, you're a part of the community.
Oh, yes.
But now, do you have to be an individual who goes through a 12-week track, or can you come and show up and just get access to resources or some guidance?
Yes. It's two different pathways. You
Okay.
can go the 12-week, or you can just have individual counseling that's necessary. So
Okay.
some people don't need the, and that's what we're making sure we don't do. We don't want to just tell everybody, because the 12-week is only going to be offered 2 or 3 times a year. We don't want people waiting if they don't need to. So we're not saying, well, our next cohort is starting in August. No, we're not doing that. If they don't need the 12-week, why put them through it? We
Okay.
are being intentional with meeting them where they are and identifying what the gaps may be for them. And sometimes it's a single question. I had a young lady who I worked with her in October. So I got here in September. I worked with her in October on several different things. I think we had like 4 meetings, one-on-one. And even as the executive director, I take on personal clients as well, just because I can't resist.
Your heart is too
Yes,
connected.
I just can't resist. And so she and I worked together in October. I hadn't heard from her until today. She sent me a message to say, hey, I need help. I have an accounting question. Am I still eligible to meet? Of course. So I sent her an email connecting her to one of our accountants that work with us.
Okay.
We may not hear from her again for 3 more months, but that is an ongoing relationship that we have. Some people come in and they only need 1 or 2 things. Other people come in, they need 5 or 6 things. It's our job to assist them with whatever their gap may be.
Okay. And then I do know that when we talk about resources, there's also courses.
Mm-hmm.
Some are free, if I'm not mistaken, and
Oh,
it could be basic business one-on-one to to actually specific industry needs, right?
mm-hmm.
Share a little
Yes.
bit more about that.
Yeah, so actually, all of our workshops are free.
Oh,
We don't charge for our workshops at all.
okay.
And so what we did was create this success model. The concept behind the success model is to give everybody this holistic approach is how we look at it. And it has these different spokes off this model that includes protecting assets, HR, business banking, legal, business structure, accounting. I'm going around it right now. Marketing, which is branding and social media, risk management, business planning, emotional well-being, networking, client experience, and mentorship, as
Perfect.
well as personal finance. So we take this holistic approach. And so when you share with us what your strengths are, we help you identify what your gaps and challenges may be.
Okay.
And so that's who we then partner you with, because strengths are something you're going to lead with automatically. You're going to be able to go out there. If you say my marketing is down pat, I know how to do social media, I got that part. What I don't know is I'm hiring new staff and I'm struggling with getting them to treat the customers the same way I do. But we
Okay.
have a client experience workshop that we offer. And so then based on what you may need, we create different workshops around the client experience. So it's not always just one stop shop. It's an expansion of the client experience. So
Okay.
what's the ultimate client experience? What does it look like for the leader? What does it look like for the employees? So we have different levels that we create around the different workshops and seminars that we put on to
Wow.
meet the needs for everybody. Yeah.
This is quite thorough. Quite thorough. Now,
That's the game plan.
I mean, it's great. And that's why I said earlier, it's not, I mean, yes, there's a target, and we learned this for women and men today. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm telling you, even if you are just an individual just looking for it, to me, it's professional development.
Mm-hmm.
And community. A lot of times, some of us, even who may be strong in our space meaning, entrepreneurship, small business owner, leadership, even just as an employee, but looking maybe to just explore some new opportunities. Um,
Mm-hmm.
this is to me a great way to get plugged in, and then just to be in community, which
Yeah.
end up sparking something else amazing and genius within you that you have been maybe sitting on for a minute. So I think I
Yeah.
applaud you and the team for this
Thank you.
vision. Now, as we bring this to a close, it goes by so fast, and we'll definitely have
Mm-hmm.
to, share more information about all that's going on our social media. We will be doing that. But if there's one word as we bring this to a close, um, for you as the executive director and the visionary behind the trajectory of this amazing program, one word you would offer incoming participants and clients that they need to consider before coming to meet with you, any of you, what one word would that be to help them out in the nick of time?
Hmm. Oh, one word. One word. Oh gosh, let me think of one word. Okay, I would say legacy.
I love it.
Legacy. What do you want to be known as?
Okay.
Yep,
And
that's
breaking
it.
that down. Yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
Where can individuals learn more about the program, the offerings, the intake process, and all of that? Where are they visiting?
Oh, so we have a new website.
Ah,
It's part of our rebranding. It's www.ulstlwbc.com. It's
awesome.
brand new, so I have to make sure I remember it.
I made sure I had it close.
And then the phone number that they can call is 314-584-6700. And
Okay.
you would be surprised the number of inquiries we even get through Facebook.
Really? So they can go on
Mhm.
social media and find you. Is
Mhm.
it under Women's Business Center?
Urban League's Metropolitan St. Louis Women's Business Center.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Wonderful. Last
Yeah.
parting words that you want to just share, outside of, because I mean, I'm excited. I've already poked around and I was like, okay, I've got to plug in because I mean, again, I even want to attend some of these workshops that are
Good.
out here. Um, it's just refreshing to see so much effort to go into this.
Mhm.
This is layered and tiered in so many different ways to bring success, not just to the organization, not
That's right.
just to individuals, but to families. This can shift communities, will and already shifting communities, reestablishing communities.
Mhm.
And that's why I think this topic and the work that you are doing, I applaud each and every one of you, Mike McMillan, for the vision
Thank you.
to bring all this under one umbrella.
Mhm.
Last words that you may have.
What I would like to share with people is that it's something positive around the pandemic. So many of us looked at the not so good side and the emotional drain and the loss of lives and everything. One thing that stood out to me about our community specifically was this piece of resilience, and this ability for us to take a bad situation and force us to thrive. So we are seeing more people excited or anxious or curious about creating these second streams of income for themselves. So we are motivating them and inspiring them to come and see us so that we can assist them with bringing their vision to life. Because it's so necessary. Now, a lot of our households lost income due to the pandemic, and there's nothing like being able to see people who not only want to go into business but who want to get it right.
Yeah.
That's what I love about this time. So many people are raising their hands and saying, I want to get it right. And we are welcoming that. We are seeing an uptick of at least 6 to 10 new businesses every single day that are saying, hey, we're trying to get started. Where do we start? And we're here to assist them along the way.
Wow. Well, you said about things being right. What you are doing is more than right. And again,
Well,
I
thank you.
applaud you, Tasha, and the team over at Urban League of Metropolitan St. Louis Women's Business Center.
Thank you.
As always, we've talked a couple times in passing, and even when all this began, and to get us to this point, this is a platform as things evolve and grow and mature, and you pivot and you do even more amazing things. This,
Thank you.
do not forget us. We are here to help you get connected with the community in every way we can. And we're here. We're here. So
And thank you for always being so welcoming and so warm. And we welcome you to come in and visit with us sometime
yeah.
and join and be a guest speaker for us anytime you'd like, because the more people that are empowering individuals one at a time, the better off we're going to all be. So thank you for your time.
Wonderful. Yes, I look forward to being a strong partner. Yeah.
Great, great. Thank you.
Want to thank Miss Tasha Pettis Bond